Ariza says, thank you.
When I need shelter, warmth, security, I know you'll be there. Something in these moments lets me know you care. Maybe the way you shield me, maybe it's your smiles and the way you tell me it's okay to try. Now I'm invincible. I can pack my sack. I can take the long road, 'cause it's okay to look back if I am scared. I know you're there. Ariza, together there's no limit to what we can do. Ariza, with no wings, fly. Ariza, and we're so high, enjoy the view. Ariza, look, no wings, fly.
This is Ariza, your financial freedom, your future. Taking the first step is one of the hardest things to do, but sometimes that's where progress begins. And that's when I can becomes the best words you can utter. I will keeps you focused on what really matters. I must pushes you to where you want to be. And I am the words when the dreams become a reality. That's the power of I. That's why it's at the center of Ariza. Because I means independent. I means individual. And at Ariza, that's what we want you to be. Independent, individual, and financially free. This is Ariza Credit Union. Your financial freedom, your future.
Hello and welcome to your financial wellness presented by Ariza Credit Union. My name is Akiera and I will be your host for this discussion. If you are joining us for the first time, then feel free to check out all of the previous episodes from this holistic wellness series. We had discussions on your mental wellness, and our last installment was on your physical wellness. Remember, you can access all of this on Ariza Credit Union's Facebook page as well as their YouTube channel. Today, we are live on Ariza's Facebook page as well as through GVN Television. So we thank you so much for joining us. Remember, this is a discussion like all of our previous discussions, and because of that, we want you to feel free to weigh in, being a part of our conversation. Send your questions to 414-2285. That's our WhatsApp number. So it's completely anonymous, so you can feel free to send us and not worry about anything like that. Just send us your questions and we will do our best to answer it. Before we jump into our session today, I do want to let you know that we will be providing you with some life hacks, some health tips, and daily lifestyle tricks that you can, employ when it comes to your financial wellness and ensuring that you are in charge of your money and your money management. This is going to be a very exciting, exhilarating, and passionate conversation because we have two really extremely competent, passionate young ladies when it comes to finance and everything about it. So I want you to get ready because this conversation is more about achieving and attaining your goals than it is just discussing money. Today, we have with us Miss Kimalene Regis. and she is a strategy and marketing consultant. She holds a master's degree in project management and a bachelor's degree in communications. She established Kimalene Regis Consulting in 2020 to facilitate synergies between business processes, image, and branding. She is a former manager of marketing, communications, and member care at Ariza Credit Union and has expansive knowledge on financial services and money management. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
We also have with us Mrs. Luanne Phillips-Henry. She is a certified chartered accountant with over 15 years of experience in local, regional, and international finance, accounting, auditing, business advisory, consulting, training, compliance, and taxation. A wealth of all of that. Member of the Institute of the Chartered Accountants of the Eastern Caribbean. She's also a member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, and she is the founder of Finance Savvy, a company dedicated to helping women achieve financial success through proper money management. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
It is
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure to have you both here to edify us on all things money management, finance, money mindset, and investing towards the future, which is what I believe is most important with this conversation. So before we jump into all of the topics at hand, I would just like to find out from you, what does financial wellness mean to each of you? So we'll start with Kimalene, and then we'll come into.
Okay, lovely. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today. And in the context of wellness, I think this conversation is very apt because, as you said, you had several discussions before. And the term wellness generally is a positive word. So this conversation will not be in any negative context in the first place. Wellness is really a positive state of being, and as such, your finances should be in a positive state of being, which means technically that your inflow of cash should be on the surplus side, cash and income. So to me, financial wellness really connotes saving, investing, preparing for the future, as we were talking about goals a little bit earlier. So preparing for the future, wherever that may lead. And I don't want to say at the end of it or in your golden years, preparing for retirement, because we're living through that too, and we have to live through that well. So financial wellness is holistic, and it will allow us to refer to some of the conversations we've had previously, because we can't necessarily separate one from the other. Your mental wellness goes into your finances. Your physical wellness affects your finances, and money underpins a lot of the things that affect our lives. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and thank you for having me.
Definitely. And you touched on a lot of things there that we will dive deeper into as we go into the conversation. Luanne, what's your take on financial wellness?
Okay. Thank you very much for having me. I am indeed honored to be here. Financial wellness is a very hot topic and a very large topic for that. And to me, financial wellness means being able to meet my life goals and as a result, as everyone else's life goals. In life, everything, money underpins everything. Every decision that we make, whether our health, whether or not our lifestyle, and being well within our finances is part of our overall personal care. If our finances are sick, more than likely, by extension, our mental health is unwell, and our lifestyle, in a sense, is suffering as well. So to me, financial wellness is the pillar of everything in our life. It is, by extension, managing your money, your finances, being accountable, being responsible, and helping yourself achieve your goals.
Yes, definitely. I like that. And I believe that everyone wants to achieve their goals. And so we have you experts here to teach us all how to do that. So let's definitely dive in. One of the first things I want us to talk about, especially given the time right now, we're all affected in some way by the COVID-19 pandemic. Life has been affected, whether if not us personally, then people within the household, people that we know. So it's a sensitive time, and it's a time that calls for a certain level of money management, maybe even more so than before. So let's talk a little bit about investing in this time. Tips for investment, because I know a lot of the times people will want to or think it's a good thing to invest, but you're a little apprehensive because you don't necessarily know what to invest in, who to invest in, if it's a person, a company, or just yourself. So let's have a little discussion around investing during these times. Kimalene.
Okay, well, I'll start off by saying one of the building blocks of investment is saving. So we have to start there. And I know people have some challenges or think they have some challenges when it comes to saving because it's a mindset. In order to invest, you must save. You must have something put aside. No matter how little it is, it can go a long way into giving you the stepping stone to go further. And why people are exploring investing right now is also because savings does not attract as much interest as it used to in the past. And in the context of COVID, where you have persons being at home, not generating as much income, every little bit goes a longer way. So people may be feeling that investing is a legitimate form of multiplying their money, because it's not just making the money and hiding it in a bank or credit union.
Right.
It's also about making it make money for you, because if it sits in a bank or credit union, you are losing money.
Right.
Because inflation affects the value of your dollar. Because depending on what financial institution you are depositing the money in, you will be charged fees. You'll be charged all kinds of underlying fees and charges. So you have to make that money do something for you. And investing is a great place to start.
I think that's very interesting, because I know a lot of the times people think that if you save your money, or if you bank it, or you store it, deposit it in a credit union or any other financial institution, that the money is safe.
The money is definitely safe. I don't want to give the impression that money is safe.
Well, when I say safe, I mean like safe, but it will all be there, and safe more so to the mindset that I don't have to worry if I invest, I may not get back the money, stuff like, let me just leave my money there, look at it, have it safe, and keep it like that. But
remember the Bible story about the father who gave his son talents?
Yes.
And the one who
dug the hole and hid away the talent?
What happened?
Definitely.
Okay, so we probably could have that kind of attitude towards our money. I'm not saying it's not safe at a bank or financial institution or a credit union. It is very safe. It's probably, I don't want to say too safe. It's probably too safe.
It is.
Safe,
right.
It comes at a cost.
It comes at a cost. Now, one of the tenets of investing is that you should not invest more than you are willing to lose.
Right.
If you have money that you have allocated for a particular purpose, if you know that money is to buy something, it's towards saving for a particular need, is for a long-term goal that is not investing, then you should not use it for the purpose of investing.
Right.
That's the first thing. Do not invest money or sums of money that you cannot afford to lose.
Yeah. So whatever you're investing, you have to feel comfortable with possibly losing it.
Correct. Because remember, you are taking a risk. You're taking a risk in putting your money somewhere besides a safe instrument, which is a savings account in the bank.
Right.
So no matter how safe you think it may be, it is riskier than putting it in a savings account.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have to say that the safest investment you can make is to invest in yourself. Right? And that investing in yourself could be through education, through upskilling, through learning a craft or a hobby, expanding on your personal development and your personal skill. Now, when you do that, the sky is the limit because you already had an ingrown talent, you already had a certain level of skill sets, but you're using that, so maybe the investment monetarily may not be as much as if you go out and try to find a business or institution to invest in.
Okay.
All right?
And as you're saying business or institution to invest in, I'm wondering what tips would you, Luanne, give to people that would like to invest in a business, invest, in a company that they may have heard of or, familiar with in terms of being wise with that investment?
Just to build on what Kimberly is saying, when you have an appetite for investing, you have to know certain things about yourself. And before you embark upon investing, certain things should be secured. So therefore, you understand the risk that you're taking. So for example, your daily life should be secured, such as you have an emergency fund put aside, you have your savings put aside, and you would have started in saving to invest. As Kimberly would have said, you don't take money that you have put aside for something else for investing. So your daily life, your daily standard of living is already protected through your emergency fund, through your savings, your retirement fund, and then you start thinking about investing. Now, institutions that, before you start going into institution, you have to understand the risk level that you're willing to take in terms of investing. Savings and fixed deposits is the most safest investments, and then you could go as far as bonds, stocks. But to do so, you have to have the knowledge to invest in those types of securities and or instruments. As a matter of fact,
research is important.
So research is very important. And as well as understanding the level of risk you can take. So if you have money sitting in a bank and you don't have an emergency fund and you don't have enough savings saved aside, how are you explaining to yourself taking those monies to invest in something that is riskier than those types of instruments? And let's say, for God's sake, you get lost with it, then what are you going to do? You don't have your emergency fund to fall back on, as well as your savings. So you have to have certain things in place. As much as investing is a big idea, you have to have the little things put aside first, or let's say taken care of first before you invest. But there are so many dynamic ways of investing. Like, for example, fixed deposits, government bonds, all these things are reachable to persons. It's just that you have to research it and be okay with the risk level that you're taking and what you're taking it with.
And as you both highlighted, that it's essential to have some sort of a saving that you put aside, and then you have your money for investment. But sometimes, people feel strapped with the day-to-day allowances and demands of life. So I know there are a few people that think, it's impossible, like I want to save, but they feel like it's impossible for me to save. Like I have money for this, for that, and you allocate and you budget and you spreadsheet and all of that for those people who are that intense. But then there are some people that think, maybe next year, or maybe I'll start saving soon. What would you say to those people? Let's start.
As I mentioned earlier, some people think that they cannot save. But maybe the question they should be asking is what they're willing to give up to save. We have certain attitudes and habits that become ingrained in us that we don't necessarily analyze as ways that we lose money, or money that we can utilize in other ways. And that is a great place to start. It will fall generally in a category of your wants or your discretionary income. That's one place. But also, a good place to shave money off is your non-discretionary income or your fixed spending. Because even though that money is for groceries, that money is for bills, that money is for the needs of your household and your lifestyle, you may be able to save by, let's say, with your light your electricity bill, being able to shave off some money of that and be able to save some money that way by using conservation techniques.
Right.
So you have to figure out what you're willing to give up to achieve your goals. And that's where we go back to goal setting. And I don't want to say give up in terms of you're going to live a depressed, sad life in order to get what you want to get. I don't want to say that by no means, but by any means. But I also want to say that there are things that we think are set in stone that we can manipulate to our benefit. Let's say that you have a habit of snacking. So instead of putting that money towards your favorite snack, whatever you buy, or some people have a Coke habit. I don't want to say
right.
Let's say some people have a Coke habit. So let's say you decide you want to save. You can go as simple as saving that Coke money. Anytime you feel like a Coke that you're going to pull out that $3 or how much ever it's going for now, I don't know. You can put it in a jar. So we as a people and we as individuals have to make certain decisions about what is important to us and where our priorities lie, and see how we can manipulate our current circumstances to help us get there, because it takes small steps to get where we want to go. The pie in the sky goals are great, but they are achieved through very small steps.
Right.
And doing simple things like that, putting little bits aside, can go a very long way to reach your long-term goal.
Yeah. So literally every dollar counts.
Every dollar counts.
Right. And you touched on something that I think is very important and I would like to elaborate on, because sometimes people think if you are to save now or, watch where you spend your money and how you spend your money, you're trading off on your present life, living your best life, as people would say, for your future goals. And some people have issues, grappling with that. So in terms of how would you recommend balancing still enjoying your life now, being able to, spend a little bit of your discretionary income, but still weighing the fact that you want to have money for your financial goals in the future, Luanne?
At the beginning of your financial wellness journey, it starts with your budget. And for you able to live your best life now and protect your future self, you have to live within I don't want to say confines of a budget, because a lot of people have this negative connotation towards the word budgeting. So I usually refer to it as my spending plan. I sit down at the end of the month.
I like that.
I sit down at the end of the month and I plan how I want to spend my money. And in sitting down and planning how I want to spend my money, I take into consideration all the goals that I want to take. So I have different categories for my future, my current self, my short-term self, so that everyone is taken care of. All our family goals are taken care of, as well as our individual goals. And you don't feel so much as you're like not living your best life now, because I am taking it into consideration in my spending plan. Because I'm not willing to suffer today for a future that I may or may not get to, because we have to understand too that people think that I'm going to fall down and die tomorrow, so why do I suffer now? So people have to feel like that they're living, and to do so you take an approach as in your spending plan, as I call it. So that is how I think we first start the journey of taking into consideration the present versus the future. So in a nutshell, it's like, do I trade off between doing a VIP or just going regular?
Right.
These are the things that you when you sit in front of your spending plan and you weigh and the pros and cons in front of it, that's the kind of conversation you have to have, because now you're facing the spending plan and things don't not going into it. So you have to decide, okay, my best life is the VIP, but I could fare well with the regular tickets, and then I could put aside, let's say, $200-300 to something else, that some other goal, some other needs or some other wants in the future, or something as simple as your sinking fund. And I have a lot of those. And those sinking fund could be as small as my vehicle insurance as big as vacation.
Yeah.
So these are the things that you could use to trade off between your current self and your future self. When I say current self, I mean the right now version of yourself.
And where you want to get
Yeah.
to go. And I think that that's so crucial that you literally, said that, because I feel like you could still have a fantastic time doing a lesser version of the extreme,
Yes.
that we strive for sometimes. Because sometimes people will go to an event, and let's take, for example, you go in general, you go with your friends and you make it, your little own experience.
Yeah.
And it's just as fun. You have a fantastic time as opposed to, spending that extra money and going to VIP.
And
it's all how you make it.
And at the end of the day, that is what the trade-off is about. How you save today and how are you going to build for your future wealth. So whatever you save today is going towards your future wealth. And these are the small decisions that you make every single time you sit in front of your spending plan.
Yeah. What are your tips regards to trading off between present and future self?
Well, definitely a lifestyle of moderation, as Luanne alluded to. And I think people feel that life is about all or nothing. And there are so many gray areas and alternate ways in between. One way for us to discuss this trade-off is also to talk about our goals versus what society may tell us should be our goals. And once you can divorce yourself from what are society's expectations and what are your expectations of yourself, who you are and what you want to be, you will have an easier time of making decisions, trade-off decisions. Because it doesn't matter what your friends or your family or your neighbors think, you have a long-term goal of achieving X. Therefore, you know that you're going to give up Y in order to get X 10 years from now. Or you're going to do less of something. I always muse about young men and the amount of alcohol they drink or consume.
Right.
No offense to any young man in the audience. Because I would ask myself, would a young man sit and drink a case of water? No.
Right.
But he would sit and drink a case of beer. Why? In the name of having fun. I don't want to go on my pet peeves. But in the name of having fun. And they end up spending money. They end up entertaining people. And yes, entertainment and fun are a natural part of our lives. We are social people, very social people. But instead of drinking a case of beer, we could get away with 6 and drink water in between. So I advocate for more moderation and thinking before you spend. Sometimes the money comes out of our pocket too easily on whims. And one way you can manage yourself is to not walk with a lot of money, not carry a lot of money, not have a lot of money, leave your card at home and walk with the amount of cash you intend to spend. The cards are very convenient.
And because you're not actually spending the money, like you're spending the money, but you're not actually like shelling it out, seeing it go in.
Your wallet.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, take the card.
Swipe it. All right, so that's one way that you can actually try to moderate yourself a bit. And I give an example of the young men, so I'm going to give an example of the young women as well now. Spending a lot of money, let's say on cosmetics, on hair, etc., etc. You look good. You look very good. But at what cost? And how often should you be doing what you're doing? I'm not saying don't do it at all. I can't make that.
That forces you or pushes you to make certain decision. Whether or not I buy a K makeup or a MAC makeup, that is all decisions being pushed by your money mindset. If you don't deal with your money mindset or face your money mindset, you would never be able to differentiate the two and actually stand separate and apart from yourself to say, hey, I could live with the cheaper one, or I could live in moderation.
Yeah.
But because we just stand in and say, okay, you could live in moderation. Some people just don't hear because they have not dealt with it. And this is something I had to deal with when I started my journey a long, long ago. I had to face my money mindset, and my money mindset came from my parents. And in our society, most of us have some version of our parents' money mindset. What your mom did with money, you're most likely doing it too. What you saw your dad did, or your cousin did, or your grandparents did, you are doing it in some way or form.
Right.
So I could do an example. I mean, let's use alcohol as Kimberly used. You have an alcoholic father, 2 children in the house. One grew up, become an alcoholic. Another one grew up and would not touch alcohol. Money is the same thing. So I grew up in a house. I'm the first of 7 kids. I grew up in a house with my parents, and my money mindset is totally different from my brother's own. My money mindset is totally different from my husband. His money mindset is money is money. Money is there to spend. Me, I am like, listen, money is to keep in my hand. You have to be very mindful how you tell people to go about
So let's talk a little
wellness.
bit about the money mindset and where it necessarily stemmed from, because based on what you're saying too, maybe people aren't aware that they have a particular type of money mindset, or they have a particular reaction towards money, or a thought process that goes into how they engage and interact with money. So I think we need to talk a little bit about that, so people could be like, oh, this is why I feel, the way I feel. So let's break down money mindset a little bit. Kimalene.
Well, I have to say I ascribe more to being intentional about the decisions we make. Yes, there's money mindset. Yes, there's pre-programming, but we started a conversation about goals. And whether or not you have an ingrained money mindset, if you are serious about the goals you have to override that programming. Being well, financially well, physically well, mentally well, does not happen by happenstance. It happens when we make small decisions to improve our health, improve our minds, improve our financial standing. And I believe that even though we have an ingrained money mindset, if I make a personal decision to achieve X or achieve Y by a certain time, my focus and my drive is towards achieving that. And what I want to share with the listening public is that you can override your money mindset. You can rise above your pre-programming, because what happened to you in your past, or the money mindset that was handed down to you, is not part of your present unless you make it part of your present. And we have to be conscious and intentional enough, because we work hard for our money.
Amen.
Just as how
but you could
are,
flip it the other way as well too. I work hard for my money, therefore I could spend my money.
Right. You work hard for your money, you could spend your money.
there's
But
two
is
types
your
of
goal
coins.
spending your money? If
No,
your goal is
but
spending your money, go right ahead and spend your money.
Right.
We're talking about your goals. What's your goal? Spend your money, because that is what you want to do. That's what will make you feel good about yourself. If what will make you feel good about yourself is saving money to do this in 5 years, saving money to do this next week or next year, then do that. Because I don't want to give the impression that you have to suffer. You have to not have goals. When I say goals don't necessarily mean something serious, highfalutin, and extravagant. It could be something as simple as, I want a very lovely dress I saw at a boutique, and I'm going to have that dress no matter what.
Right.
It could be as simple as that. So a goal doesn't have to be education, finances, buying a car, buying a house. It could be a simple thing that would make you happy.
Right.
So I don't want us to get mixed up with what goals mean
Yeah.
and how they are, because goals come in many forms.
And probably through, you know, simple goals like this, which you don't necessarily think of it as having a goal. Let's take, for example, New Year's Eve is coming up, and, you know, in the regular situation pre-COVID, people would want to save towards having a nice New Year's Eve, bringing in the New Year celebration. But, you know, the party costs X amount of money, you know, the tickets cost X amount of money, etc. But you're thinking, I'm definitely going to go to that, you know. So you are going to have goals to save towards that. And that same attitude that you can apply towards getting that ticket or putting aside some of your paycheck to get that ticket is the same, you know, type of mindset that you could employ to achieve greater goals, whether you want to study, whether you want to have a house, whether you want to have a car, etc., all of these things. But in terms of us just being conscious of the fact that we do have some sort of ingrained programming that gives us a predisposition to being a particular way. I think that's important to let people know and understand.
And you have to acknowledge it. You have to be aware of it. And then you are able now to set intentions more purposefully. And you're able now to say, well, okay, yes, notwithstanding I would have inherited those sort of ways of thinking and it became a mess. But here, I'm going to make a decision to be more intentional about my money. And that is where our spending habits and so on start revealing themselves, because our money mindset pushes along our spending habits. Whether or not you decide to buy food or you decide to go in the supermarket every week, all these things are pushed by things that you grew up with. And you being intentional and doing your budget and your spending plan can expose those things, because you know how, as I said before, you have to sit and face it. So it all rolls into one another. Your life, your mindset rolls into your intention, your spending plan, your life goals. It all rolls up. As minuscule as the particular goal is as getting a dress, it's still a goal, and it still boils down to you being intentional about your budget and your money and your spending habits.
Definitely. And I think that that's a perfect point for people to ponder on while we take a brief pause. For those of you viewing via GBN, we will now have your lotto draw. And for those of you online, we will be back very shortly talking about your financial wellness with Kimalene and...
Wheel keeps turning. Ariza says, thank you.
When I need shelter, warmth, security, I know you'll be there. Something in these moments lets me know you care. Maybe the way you shield me, maybe it's your smiles and the way you tell me it's okay to try. Now I'm invincible. I can pack my sack. I can take the long road, 'cause it's okay to look back if I am scared. I know you're there. Ariza, together there's no limit to what we can do. Ariza, with no wings, fly. Ariza, and we're so high, enjoy the view.
This is Ariza, your financial freedom, your future. Taking the first step is one of the hardest things to do, but sometimes that's where progress begins. And that's when I can becomes the best words you can utter. I will keeps you focused on what really matters. I must pushes you to where you want to be. And I am the words when the dreams become a reality. That's the power of I. That's why it's at the center of Ariza. Because I means independent. I means individual. And at Ariza, that's what we want you to be. Independent, individual, and financially free. This is Ariza Credit Union. Your financial freedom, your future.
When I need shelter, warmth, security, I know you'll be there. Something in these moments lets me know you care. Maybe the way you shield me, maybe it's your smiles and the way you tell me it's okay to try. Now I'm invincible. I can pack my sack. I can take the long road, 'cause it's okay to look back if I am scared. I know you're there. Ariza, together there's no limit to what we can do. Ariza, with no wings, fly. Ariza, and we're so high, enjoy the view. Ariza, look, no wings, fly.
This is Ariza, your financial freedom, your future.
When I need shelter, warmth, security, I know you'll be there. Something in these moments lets me know you care. Maybe the way you shield me, maybe it's your smiles and the way you tell me it's okay to try. Now I'm invincible. I can pack my sack. I can take the long road, 'cause it's okay to look back if I am scared. I know you're there. Ariza, together there's no limit to what we can do. Ariza, with no wings, fly. Ariza, and we're so high, enjoy the view. Ariza, look, no wings, fly.
This is Ariza, your financial freedom, your future.
When I need shelter, warmth, security, I know you'll be there. Something in these moments lets me know you care. Maybe the way you shield me, maybe it's your smiles and the way you tell me it's okay to try. Now I'm invincible. I can pack my sack. I can take the long road, 'cause it's okay to look back if I am scared. I know you're there. Ariza, together there's no limit to what we can do. Ariza, with no wings, fly. Ariza, and we're so high, enjoy the view. Ariza, look, no wings, fly.
This is Ariza, your financial freedom.
Hello and welcome back to our discussion on your financial wellness presented by Ariza Credit Union. I am your host, Akiera Paterson, and I am here having a lovely discussion with Kimalene and Luanne with regards to your financial wellness. Just before the break, we touched a little bit on savings, investment, money management, and your money mindset. And I think that this was something that we definitely needed to hear, because sometimes our spending, our budget, our entire attitude towards money are sometimes unconsciously affected by our household, how we would have grown up. And just being conscious of it is very important when looking at the larger factor of budgeting and investment and all of that, and how that could have affected you. And it's also very important, coming out of the first half of our conversation, to be goal oriented. It doesn't necessarily have to be a steep financial goal. It could be something $100 you're saving towards purchasing something that's small, but that's still an investment that you would have to make and different money, and your money has to be allocated towards that. So depending on what the goal is, it could be something as small as purchasing a low investment purchase, or it could be something as, more steep in investment, like for your finances, for your home, for your future, for education, etc. So goal doesn't necessarily have to be something, extreme, but it's dependent on what you want to achieve, incrementally in your life and then in the future. Discussing the trade-off between present, still living your best life, and still enjoying within the parameters of your spending ability and your spending power, and being mindful so that you're not, getting yourself into any sort of debt. So again, this is a conversation, and we would really like to have you weigh in. I know some people have been saying, based on certain examples that we've shared today, that they feel it fell directly in their pot, like specifically for them, just because, of the mindset, a habitual spending, like spending on a particular drink, etc. All of that, it's all parts of your financial wellness and how it all plays in. So again, feel free to send your questions into 414-2285, and again, it's WhatsApp, so you could feel free to send us your WhatsApp question, completely anonymous, so that we can address them. And if you have, financial goals and an investment tip that you want to ask on, probably a prospect that you're looking to into your future, feel free to ask us, and we will try to assist as much as possible with that. So now let's jump back into simple tricks and tips that could be used to address spending and reduce spending. I know earlier before the break, Kimalene, you spoke to how doing different things like shaving off of how long you leave the faucet running, or for some of us that, shower and sing in the shower while the water is running, just being conscious of certain things like that, and how that could help to shave off some of your expenses so you have more dispensable or disposable income. So let's get some more tips.
Okay, well, we could talk about subscription services. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Subscription services, product bundling, and sales. Let's talk about all of them one time. So subscription services are designed for you to easily spend your money. So for example, the Amazon Prime accounts that we all love because it allows us a variety of things from Amazon.com. Are we utilizing that service to the full extent that it is, or it should be utilized for it to be worth the money we spend monthly?
Right.
And is there another way we can have the service without spending the amount of money? One, you can join up or team up with a family member so you share the account when it comes to spending. Or you can choose, if you know you're not going to utilize, let's say, the books or the videos, but you only purchase things periodically, then maybe you should stick to that and just purchase things when you need it. Because then you may not necessarily need to have an Amazon account.
And be paying every month
for something you're not using.
Yeah.
Next, product bundling. Product bundling is designed to move non-moving items in businesses. So they will put a high ticket item with a loss leader and bundle it up and give it to you. You only need one of the items, but because it's a deal, because look, I'm getting this and that and the other, it's a deal, I'm going to take all of it. But you're only going to use the one thing you intended to use. Now, those are creative ways that businesses sell things to us. But we have to be mindful that we are purchasing what we need and what we want.
But you see, there are certain words
sold to us.
There are certain words like deal, or you like a flash sale, and you hear certain things like that and you think, oh, let me go take advantage of this. You don't necessarily need something, but you're like, it's happening, let me go see. And then all of a sudden you see something that you like, and because it's 40% off or 50% off, you get it and you don't necessarily need it. Or the fact that you can get 3 items for, this lower price, it grabs your attention. And I know for sometimes females and males dependent? Because males, I think they spend differently based on how they would like. And I see you laughing because you're probably thinking your husband spends differently than you do.
Yes.
But definitely, you know, so it's just in terms of that awareness and being conscious to say.
A sale is not a sale unless you know it's on sale.
Yes.
40% off doesn't mean
40%
that
off.
it's less than the regular price.
Yes. So you have to be very careful.
There's a sales strategy where businesses would hike up the price of an item prior to a sale, reduce it for the sale, and you're still paying more full price than if you had bought it a regular time.
Yeah.
So that's why I say a sale is not a sale unless you know it's a sale.
Yeah.
For it to be a sale, you would have been monitoring the price and know it is lower. The price is lower now than it was. Not because the word sale is plastered on something means that you are saving.
Right.
And is it really a sale? And is it to your benefit if you're buying something you don't really want?
Or even need.
Or need. Impulsive spending goes back to our budget and planning and being intentional. All right? We can spend impulsively if you have the money or the fund and it's your spending money fund, you could go right ahead and do it. But be cognizant of, are you going to be using this item at all? Because I bought things on sale that I never used, mind you.
Yeah.
So why even put a mental energy into doing it? So that's my wrap up on sales, product bundling, and subscription. Be very mindful, subscription services, being very mindful of them because they're easy ways that you can save money by not adhering or participating in them mindlessly.
Yeah, but there are some times too. There are some times in the month threshold when people feel richer than they would normally. So I mean, and I know this because you know around payday, you always feel like I have money. You know, I got paid. So you think, let me get this. You might not have gotten it or thought that you needed it, but because you just got paid, you haven't paid all of the bills as yet, and begin to check off the necessary things. You think, well, okay, let me live it up a little bit, and let me get this dress, let me get these shoes, let me get this, you know, motorcycle helmet or whatever guys want to get.
But if you're budgeting, if it goes back all the way back to your budget, if you're budgeting correctly, and I mean, like, not saying that it's in my mind and I know what I'm spending, but you sit down and you face your budget. You have the different categories, what you could afford to spend in the different categories, then you feeling rich on payday is scaled back a bit because you already have intention for every single dollar you have.
Good.
So if you at payday you want to buy a dress, or you feel the need to buy a dress because you're feeling all, you know, whatever that day, you have a fund for that dress, so you don't have to feel rich. Doing your budget correctly makes you feel like to make it rain every day because you have the money in the different categories to do so. And I want to go back to something that Kimberly said a while back when she referred to impulsive spending. To me, impulsive spending is emotional. And I'm saying that from experience because I sometimes before in my past life, I used to impulsive spend. And when I become very conscious of how I was spending and my spending habit, I realized it was linked to an emotion. So for example, if I'm upset, if I'm angry, if me and my husband get into a fight, I'm a big woman, I'm going to spend some money. And it's not me alone. It is not me alone. Right? So some of us who are impulsive spending is directly related to some level of emotion.
Sometimes it's triggered.
Yeah, sometimes loneliness, sometimes anger, sometimes depression, sometimes sadness. So yes, your budget will help you with your impulsive spending, but knowing where that impulsive spending is coming from would help you overcome it better.
Right. And the trigger
triggers
of having to spend. Because there's this term called retail therapy.
Yeah.
Where females shop specifically because you had a stressful day or whatever, and you're like, let me go browse, let me shop, let me order something. and all of that, and
then
not
you leave with a
necessarily
suitcase of stuff that you don't need.
Yeah, that you don't necessarily need it, but it's because of that mood that you are in at
Yeah.
that time. So just being aware of all of these triggers and knowing, well, okay, this is not me wanting that. This is
trying
me
to cover a need that you have, and you think by spending the money will make you feel better. But when you go home and you see all the products and you're still left with the feeling, is like, what did I do?
Yeah.
And first of all, I said, what money did I spend? Did I spend like the kids' fund, or did I spend the grocery money for next month or something? That is what happens to people. And this is like real life. And please don't make me feel like it's me alone. Those these things.
No, definitely not. And you see, the thing is, because we're here talking to people who are not necessarily around to give us that feedback,
so
but they're definitely, tuning in. And then a lot of the times you think, maybe I shouldn't do this, or I should do this. But I think it's really good that you offer those realistic experiences, things that you would have overcome to be as financially savvy, as you are now. I think that's fantastic, because just being aware of it is very important.
You're able to catch yourself in mid-air. And one of the things you can do for helping you saving money, or like no spending days, you decide, okay, out of 2 days of the week, I'll try not to spend any money, not even as sweets, I mean. And to help you with catching yourself in your impulsive spending, try using more cash. So for example, with me, how do I catch myself? If I use cash, then it is much harder to count 100, 200, 300 in front of the cash register than to swipe a card. You swipe a card and something happens in the background and they give you the product.
Yeah.
And you go home, and the next 2 weeks you look at the statement and you see how much it costs. But if you're standing in front of the cash register with $300-400 having to take it, I was like, okay, that's a shoe for my daughter. That's how we relate to money. And that's how I got over, and I would have started my journey over 15 years ago. And the thing is, people think that because you're accountants and you're in that particular profession, it comes naturally. It doesn't, because again, you have to get over your money mindset and all these little baggages that you have to come over.
Right.
And things are not even only a money mindset that you inherit, but things that you, as your own personality as well, would have picked up along the way. You like nice shoes, I like nice this and that and the other, and your money mindset fuels it.
Yeah.
And you become someone in the present day, and you realize that your credit card is always maxed out, because you're fueling things that you're subconsciously doing to just
compensate for whatever.
Yeah, compensate for something that's in the back of your mind and you just haven't addressed.
Yeah. No, definitely. And as you said that too, you brought up a really crucial point in terms of this, everything is more technology oriented. So you have a card, you feel it's convenient, you don't always have to run to the ATM to get money, you could literally just swipe your card and get it. But at the end of the day, because you're not feeling like if you're spending that physical cash, it's easier.
Yes.
So what tip would you recommend, Kimalene, in terms of like literally to just be aware that when you swipe your card, you're spending your money, or maybe money that you have to repay?
Okay, fine. Well, my personal preference is to spend money using my debit card. Because I know I cannot spend money that I don't have.
That's me.
The lovely thing about some financial institutions is that they allow you to split your money as it comes in, your income as it comes in. So, if your money comes in, the amount of money that you have assigned for this particular account is your spending money, then you spend the money there. Now, credit cards is another animal altogether. It allows you, I'm not bashing credit cards, because it allows you flexibility. It allows you to take care of very unforeseen expenses. At the drop of a hat, you can solve problems very easily with a monetary problems very easily with a credit card, because you don't need to go and negotiate a loan, etc., etc. once you have a balance, etc. However, the rule of thumb is pay back your credit cards promptly, or by the end of the month, or in full.
Yeah.
So if you are not, and that is the trick of the trade, if you are not capable of paying off the large purchase, in the month period or the 15-day period allotted for your credit card due date, then it incurs interest.
Right.
So one rule of thumb is don't make large purchases. Don't take a credit card for large amounts. That's another thing. Not because you can't have something, you should have it.
Right.
And that is something that I've learned personally.
I feel you need to say that again.
Not because you can have something means you should have it. Said it again.
Yeah.
Right? So not because you can have a very high limit on your credit card means that you should do it. Because based on your personality, and you know your miswipes a lot, you may be able to, you could put yourself in a financial position where you may end up having to convert this huge credit card debt into a loan and end up paying for things that you forgot you even used for years to come.
Right.
So my recommendation when it comes to credit cards is to keep the credit card balances or the credit card limit very low.
And I will say, though, that that's a good tip. And it's something that I have always seen my mom do. Like, she would use her credit card for specific purchases. And in no time, she's thinking, oh, I have to remember to pay that off. And she pays it, like, immediately. So that was just a good money mindset that I kind of adopted.
Lovely.
Thanks, Mom. Shout out. You know, because, like, I would always see, and she would always say, oh, I used my credit card to get this. Let me pay it back one time. You know, so it's kind of like top of mind because the credit, it's credit. It's not
money you
It's
have.
not your
money you have.
It's not your money.
It's money that you're borrowing,
Yes,
and
it's
there
money
will
borrowing.
be charges that will be incurred as a result of that. You know, I'm a debit card champion because I feel like I have this money, I have it in this space, and I'm going to use the money that I have. I don't like using money that I don't have. I don't know if it's a good thing. Feel free to diagnose me.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, but that's definitely like my mindset with regards to that.
The cash only method is for persons who are just starting on their journey for budgeting. Once you master the skill of budgeting, then you can move on to cards, and that is the cash system that you have will just transfer itself into cards.
Right.
So you have the different accounts, you have your debit card and your swipe. The debit card represents the same cash that you would have learned to master. One of the things that is easy to do when you have a bad spending habit is kick the pan down the road with the cards. Because you're trying to retrain yourself now, the first thing you need to do is to start facing it with the cash. So cash only method is only for persons who are embarking on their journey
To address the money
to address
mindset.
your money mindset
Yeah.
and address your get onto your financial wellness journey. But once you mastered it, you could then transfer everything that you're doing with your cash into your card. So since then I have graduated to using cash, using cards, right?
I like
but
that.
it is just ways of making things more easier for persons. So I encourage them to use cash when you start. Yeah.
What's another tip that you would recommend to reduce spending?
Well, I always start with budgeting. And I know I keep saying budgeting and over, but it needs to be expounded every time because you cannot catch yourself, you cannot monitor yourself, you cannot know what you're spending and where your leaks are without knowing where your money intended to go in the first case.
Okay, so for someone who's not accustomed budgeting or they're now contemplating, let me do a budget, what's a quick way, or is there a quick way or easy way to just do, like, you know, to welcome you and dip your feet into the budgeting arena?
Budgeting or a spending plan is fairly easy enough where you're just measuring your income, what money is coming in versus what money you're spending.
Right.
And when you're facing, and a lot of people, when they're doing the where they go wrong with the budgets is not accounting for everything that is spending. So at the end of the month, we sit down and we do big ticket items like your bills and like say your mortgages, etc. But there are little things that creep up that we do during the month that is the budget killers or the budget busters. And these are the variable expenses that Kimberly alluded to before. The things are habits, or whether we want to do our weave in the middle of the month, or we have to go do makeup, or we do. These are the things that pull the money from you. So a lot of the times we do the budget and we put, let's say, $500 towards saving, and then for some reason before the end of the month that $500 gone.
Right.
Those are the things that are creating the budget busters. Those are the things that are sucking you dry, the spending habits. So when I encourage persons to do their budget, you sit down, you take assessment of what money is coming in, and you make a realistic assessment of the monies that you have spending going out. Everything that you spend money on.
Even like a bag of chips.
Even the bag of chips that you just trying to say you're cheating on your diet. You put it in the budget as discretionary spending.
Right.
So once upon a time, I used to have something they call free spending in my budget, where I say, okay, I allot X amount of dollars in it, and I could do whatever money is at. But it is in my budget. Right? But if you don't make this conscious decision at the end of the month, then you find yourself taking out the money that you supposedly put in the savings account for emergency fund, and at the end of the month, by the time the 15th of the month, you have more month than money.
Right. More month than money. No, that's where the struggle comes in, you know, and then you raise your head and you're like, Lord, where is payday?
Where is payday?
Yeah. No, that's
so that's why
really,
I always
really
start off, how do you start saving money? How do you start cutting costs and starting your spending? Your budget. And it's not in your head. It has to be pen and paper. Because you know what happens when you put pen to paper? You have to face it.
Right.
You have to rationalize it. You have to ask yourself, is this a need or is this a want?
And especially if you're saving towards a goal,
Yes.
especially if you want to open your own business, or you want to open a firm, or you want to invest more, or at least have money to do so.
Yes.
You want to save to buy a house, you want to save to buy a car. All of these different things are crucial in terms of where the budgeting comes in.
And how you see your goals in your budget is by putting them in your budget. So, for example, I use myself as an example because that's the only person I could talk about. So, vacation has a fund. Kids' education has a fund. Future investment has a fund. It may never have anything there, but it's there, and every month I have to face it.
Right.
Like, you have to cut something somewhere, as Kimberly says. You have to start living. That approach forces you to start living in moderation now. Okay, so where do I get the money from to put in my investment fund? Because you have to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Is it that you make more money, or you start cutting expenses? That's a two-way, or you win the lotto. And then if you don't know how to manage the money you're making now, the money you get from the lotto is going to disappear the same way.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you still have to come back and face your budget.
Money management and budgeting.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Want to weigh in?
Yes. I wanted to give a tip about how you can start your budget.
Yes.
You can start your budget by doing some self-assessment, by monitoring yourself. So apart from creating a budget, but creating a list of things you want to spend on, or you need to spend on, and how much you allocate towards it, you can be your own stalker for a month.
Okay.
And write down everything you spent money on. Now that would be easier if you're using a card, because if you're using a card, you get a statement, you have online statements, etc.
Right.
And that can allow you to put expenses in various categories. But you can walk around with a little notebook, and in your quiet time, if you went to work or you went outside and you bought something, when you get back to your desk or you get back to work, you wrote down, I spent X amount for stew. I spent Y amount for this. And track yourself for 1 month. And then use that list of things you spend money for to create your budget. Because everything you bought that was not necessary, let's put it in that category, you can put into your discretionary spending slot, right? Everything you spend towards your house. Like sometimes we spend money so mindlessly that we don't realize you're making purchases towards your house and it's not really part of your plan, and you don't need it now, you can get it later on. It may make more sense to get it later on than now. Those kinds of things, you put them in a list for 1 month. Just follow yourself and make a list. Then you itemize, categorize it. I'm using big words. Put it in chunks of things that are related.
Yes.
And then you can use that to say, okay, I generally spend X amount on snacks. I generally spend Y amount on food. I generally spend X amount on something else.
Right.
And then you can look at that list and cut out, okay, I buy drinks 3 times a week, but if I want to save money, maybe I can buy drinks once a week and drink water another time, the other days.
Yeah.
Or I can do, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's hard for you to start to conceptualize how you can change the behavior. As
I think
Luanne said.
that's a good tip, especially because maybe you don't have like a tracker or a baseline as to what you actually spend the money on. I will say though that I feel it will take a lot of discipline in order to be able to sit, and so I don't want to make it seem like if it's easy at all,
No,
because
it's not.
to walk around with a journal or it's the same thing, because even let's take for example in the previous conversation that we had on your physical wellness, Dr. Lowe and Mrs. Stevenson was saying that what is important is making sometimes a journal of your eating habits. So then you could look back and see, okay, these are all of the things that I've eaten, and what you could really shave off, because you probably didn't need to have a snack here and here and here,
Right.
And it goes in tandem with the money management, because you save on the calories and you save on the money.
Correct.
So it'll actually work in. So when you're doing that, you can also do, that similar thing. But I think it's definitely something that will need to happen so that you could literally see. And sometimes you might sit back and be like, boy, like I literally spend like all that money on this or what. Or you may say, well, okay, I did well, I didn't spend, or maybe just the gesture of doing it alone.
You have to be conscious too that you're trying to change a habit. And habits don't change easily.
Right.
But you're trying to change this habit to change where you are and where you're going. To create, to have some kind of, let's say, control over where you are, because some of us are where we are very accidentally by making all kinds of random decisions.
Right.
But this is so important that making notes, you have to make yourself do it. I know lots of people don't like to, as Luanne said, put pen to paper. I don't like to do it if I don't have to either. But this is so important for you. I don't want to say necessarily to feel good about who you are, but where you are, and feeling that you have some measure of control over where you are going in your life, your lifestyle, and making yourself happy. So let's talk about making yourself happy a little bit. Because if you spend money willy-nilly, you don't feel good about yourself. Full stop. The same way you say, okay, you spend the money and then you have more month than money. It's because you have spent the money that is available to you, and now for the next 10 days, you're stressed out, you're vexed with everybody, and you're feeling guilty. And why are you doing that to yourself? When you could put yourself in a much better position. It takes time. And habits take, there's a theory that says it takes about 20 to 30 days to change a habit.
Yeah.
So you have to be consistent. You have to know that every day I'm going to make these notes. If you're embarrassed about it, do it when nobody is seeing. Do it on your cellular phone. Do it in an inconspicuous way.
Right.
But do it.
Yeah.
Because even if you do it partially, let's say you do 15 days, it gives you a good idea of what's going on with you. So my recommendation is to try it. Try it. Put your areas of spending into broad categories, and then analyze it and say to yourself, okay, is this too much money to be spending on this based on my income and based on my goals? Or can I reallocate some of this money I'm spending here towards my goals, future or short term?
Other than the journaling part of it, there's another way you can do it too, is by tracking your receipts. And there are apps that could help you with the journaling as well too, where it tracks your spending. So instead of you go in the evening time to try to sit down and think about all the things that you would have written, for those persons who are lazy like me, you get an app. So the moment that you're about to spend the money, if you're in the process of trying to do your self-assessment, you use these apps, as well as something they call an envelope method, where the first month, the thing is, the first month that you try to do your budget, if you're doing it for the first time, you will get it so wrong. But the first month is to show you how you're spending. So you sit down in this state of mind, like, you have this and you're writing down the budget and so on. But if you're using something they call the envelope method, where for every doing haircuts, you're going to crash and burn.
Right.
So for example, with me, once upon a time, I decided that, okay, I want to save big chunks of monies and not take into consideration my spending habits and whatever. So for the first 2-3 months, I save, right? And then by the third month, you feel so constricted. You feel so like I'm working and I'm not doing anything because I'm not living my best life.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then, all right, I'm a big woman, so I'm going to spend it. So that's where the budgeting help you that way too, because you do it in gradual stages, so you don't shock your system. You don't shock your system and shock your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You do it gradually.
So what comments would you have specifically towards the both of you, towards saving now and budgeting now, given that, especially for some people who probably have a rotated type of shift system now because of the limitations with, the pandemic and all of that, because it's a different time that we are navigating, and certain companies have come up with various ways to help them stay afloat, and of course the employees will be a part of that experience. So now, where you would have, let's say you would have been budgeting before and you were able to do it and you could have seen a little light, a little space, and then now you have a cut paycheck, or you don't have as much income as you would usually, or probably something that you would have done on the side can't necessarily happen now because of the limitations and the restrictions for our safety. Then what would you recommend to still be conscious of spending and saving and still savvy during this time? So I'll take Kimalene first and then we'll come to you.
Well, you hit the nail on the head in terms of our reality right now, because there are people who have significantly cut incomes, and I don't necessarily want to say, as old people say, you must prepare for hard times, because I have a problem with that construct in the first place. But when it hits, what do you do?
Right.
Some of us may need to take drastic decisions about some of the things that we are doing. Some of the things, let me give you an example. Let's talk about food a little bit.
Yeah.
I know you had a program on your health previously, but one of the ways we can save money is managing our food.
Right.
One idea could be you can cook more at home instead of purchasing when you do go out to work. If you do go out to work, if you don't fall into that category of being someone who's a great purchaser of food, you can also manage the amount of food you purchase and the amount of food you consume.
Right.
Because even in the context of being well and being fit and all of that, some of us have the habit of eating more than we should. The more we consume, the more money we spend to replace it. So we have to take sometimes some hard decisions or close look at what we're doing. Even something as simple as cutting meat. You don't have to eat meat at every meal. And you could even make it into a very sophisticated affair. You can have vegan days.
Right.
Where you don't cook or consume any meat. You could have a vegan week at your house to make it more palatable for everybody.
Right.
And you eat only plant-based foods for a week.
And as you're saying that, it ties in with the conversation on your physical wellness, because these were some of the things that were shared by the two the guests that we had. And I think it's so interesting how all of these things work in tandem in the life. When you're looking at the broad, the broad spectrum, I think that's really important to note, because something that Dr. Lowe and Mrs. Lewis recommended was to have some sort of meal plan or a meal prep for the week.
Correct.
So you get like probably nice disposable but long-lasting containers, and you can make your food look nice and prep for the week. So you take like probably a half an hour, a couple of hours hours on Sunday to, you know, put aside that, and then, okay, you leave out meat for probably one day. Your body will benefit from not having to process the meat, and also, you know, your pockets will benefit because you don't have to spend the money for that additional protein, which your body doesn't necessarily need so much because you can get it from other sources in your diet. So as you're talking, like, it just delves back to like all of the previous conversations that we've had, and just seeing how holistically all of the different things that you can do, just little changes, could actually help you in different areas.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
of
some
your
people
life.
feel that eating less or restricting what you eat or monitoring what you eat they have a negative impression of it.
It goes back to their mindset.
It goes back to your mindset that there is a lack in your life if you don't eat meat. There's a lack in your life if you don't eat a certain way.
Right.
If you don't do one thing or another. But as I was mentioning earlier, the pressures of society for us to conform sometimes have a detrimental effect on our pockets.
Right.
And at this time, you need to make decisions that's best for you, because every family is affected differently by COVID, because we have different arrangements going on in different households because of how one company, as you say, may have handled the pandemic versus another. But the net effect is that a lot of homes have less money to go around.
Yes.
And so we have to look in areas that we don't traditionally look for ways for us to save. And that may be a way that you can benefit by looking at how you eat.
Looking at how you eat, definitely. And it's simple enough in terms of thinking about it, and then too in terms of the portion control, because when you think about it, which is good, probably you don't need like 3 spoons of rice.
Correct.
You know,
another
probably you don't
thing,
need that.
I'm a great advocate for growing your own. Grow something, anything you grow is anything you don't have to buy.
Right.
So let's say you have all you have is a flower pot that you had there for a long time, that you killed the plant in. You can grow some herbs in that. Anything you plant there, you don't have to buy. You don't have to buy seasoning from the market or the supermarket or wherever you buy it. And if you grow something that you consume a lot of or you like, for example, potatoes or sweet potatoes or something like that, you don't have to become a large-scale farmer.
Right.
You can get a slip of potato from a friend very easily and just plant it in a little plot in front of your house. Grow something, anything you grow for yourself is something you don't have to spend money to purchase.
I think too that I'll feel good eating something that I grew, because I remember couple times, like, I would have tried to do some tomatoes, because it seems like it's easy to grow tomatoes, you know, until it gets to a point where it just bends down if you don't really tie it up properly. I learned that the hard way. But there's a different level of fulfillment that comes from, you know, eating something that you grew. So I think that that's an amazing tip, you know, absolutely fantastic that you literally, you know, brought that up. I want us to go in a little bit to indicators of financial concern. You know, because again, during this time, it's very important for us to be aware of certain red flags or certain, you know, habits. Well, as you would have, you know, spoken to, you know, throughout, that would come up, that would be a cause for an alarm to your pocket. So let's just touch a little bit on that so we can have like a guide towards that.
So one of the first things is actually if you have to borrow money to meet your monthly expenses. That's a big red flag. It means that either you're spending too much money and you need to scale back a bit, or you need to look at your budget or look at how you're spending more a little differently. If you don't have an emergency fund, or no savings at all, actually. If by the end of the month, the $500 you would have put away towards your quote-unquote saving is gone, you have a problem. Your credit card is maxed out, that you have a problem. If you're not sleeping and it's because you're worried, you're stressed out, you're having anxiety attacks, you can't have a conversation about your money because you're putting yourself in rage. These are indicators that you're
Yeah.
not, your finances is not sitting well on your chest, and you're not doing anything about it. Things like debt consolidation. Debt consolidation in itself is not bad if you're really serious about embarking on your journey, and your debt consolidation could propel you where you consolidate your debt into a low interest. However, if you're constantly doing it, you have a problem. You have a fundamental problem that you're not dealing with. The problem that is causing you to constantly have to redo your debt consolidation is by no means your spending habit. You have a problem. So these are the things that are financial indicators, not exhaustive, because you could go on forever. One of the things I wanted to interject to with Kimberly is, in this COVID time, one of the things that we're noticing is that we spend a lot of money on food. And one of the things when you're starting budgeting, and one of the things I had to first face is the amount of money I spent on food. And we grew up in such a way that, you know, when you get money at payday, you go, you buy. And you buy like 3 pages of groceries,
Right.
and you go home and you see your pantry all filled, etc., etc. And you hardly ever buy vegetables because they don't last. What I found is very cost effective is to actually shop on a weekly basis. So you only refill
What you've
or
used.
what you have used, and it then encourages you to eat more vegetables, because then I could buy vegetables this week, I could buy vegetables next week, and so on and so on. And then it forces you as well to say, well, you know what, I'm going to spend only $200 in the supermarket this weekend. And sometimes I go as far as saying, I'm going to skip this weekend and use everything that's in the house. And you really get creative when you force yourself to do that, as we had to during COVID-19 times.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't go to the supermarket, and you had to stand in front of your cupboard and ask yourself, what am I going to do
with what I have?
What I have, and we survive. We all survive using what was in the pantry. So why can't we use these things now to propel us on the journey to reach our financial goals?
Yeah.
So these are the things that COVID-19, yes, was a health crisis, but it has now morphed into a financial crisis. And the times we were stuck home has forced us to face a lot of things that we took for granted, like being able to go to the supermarket all willy-nilly. And now I have to go get what? I get to get a mango now to suffice for the snacks and the juice that I used to spend $300-400 at the end of the month for my kids.
Right.
I have to make lime juice. These are the things that sucks up the money.
Yeah.
The snacks for the kids, the juice for the kids, and we have a lot of fruits in here. We have a lot of fruits here. So why are we doing those things? Because we can.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily something that we have to do or even should do.
Yeah,
You
and it's
know?
much more healthier as a matter of fact.
Someone said, thank you for this program. I'm taking so many notes. I don't even have a question because I'm just writing. So that's fantastic. And that's the type of awareness that we really want, you know, to foster just with this. Because even as you both are speaking, like I'm taking notes myself, thinking, oh, okay, all right, this, that, the other. And I imagine that, you know, a lot of people are doing the same. Kimalene, just give me some of your, you know, financial red flags. You know, anything that Luanne would not have mentioned.
I have 2 big ones. One is thinking that household expenses are emergencies.
Right.
If you are someone who has a house, a mortgage, or you're renting, there are certain things or certain ways you have to spend money every year. Now, these things will come up. The plumbing, something happened to the toilet.
Yeah.
You need to do something with an electrical outlet, etc. These things should not surprise you.
Because it's maintenance. It's
expected.
maintenance.
It's part of owning a home. This should be part of a fund that you have in place for when these things happen. It's not an emergency. It doesn't warrant you taking a loan for these things. it should be part of your planning process.
Right.
And these type of expenses sometimes sink us in a hole, because then we may decide to go and take a loan to do something, one of these things,
Right.
and then make our mortgage bigger. And then while we're at the loan officer, we may say, oh, I may as well do this, that, and the other at the same time, and just wrap it up in a nice bow. So we have to be cognizant that the expenses you spend on maintaining your house are not emergencies.
Right.
Similarly, expenses on your car are not emergencies.
Right.
You know you have to change your tires. You know you have to change brakes. You know you have to pay insurance.
Get a
you
new
know you have to do
battery.
all. And if your car is not too
New.
modern or
Yeah.
new, you know that certain things, clank, clank, knock, knock, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you have to be conscious and actively save towards, put a little away all the time, because when these expenses pop up, they can sink you financially
Right.
if you're not prepared for them. So take little bits off at a time and put money away consistently towards these things. It could be in a jar in your house. Oh, that's for the car. A friend of mine once referred to her car as her third child.
Oh, right.
Just as how you put money away for the kids in case they get sick and whatever, you hide a little bit away just in case.
Yeah.
You have to do that for your
that third
vehicle
child.
as well. For that child.
Yeah, man.
These
Right.
things would fall into your budget as sinking funds. So you have sinking funds for your car maintenance, sinking funds for your house insurance, even the property tax, which is not a surprise. It comes every June, and you know the government want the money.
Yeah.
Put it in an envelope somewhere.
Yeah.
Put it in your budget. It takes you at least 6 months maybe to save up like $50 to get your property tax.
Yeah.
Then do that. Then at the end of June, you don't have to say, oh my gosh, I now have to go to the bank. I have to go somewhere to find that $300 or $400 you have to pay to the
Which you
government.
knew
Was coming. It's not a
all
surprise.
along.
Yeah. Even something as simple as Christmas. Every year has Christmas. Every year, you know, you
True.
need to buy something for somebody. Put it all in your budget. You could start in January and put it in your budget. So then Christmas doesn't surprise you
Yeah.
when you know December is every calendar year. We do that.
Absolutely fantastic. And you know, as you all are saying these things, it's so realistic, but probably, you know, it's not top of mind because we don't necessarily consider it that way in our everyday coming and going. You know, so I really want to thank the both of you for taking time to, you know, come here and share of your knowledge and your expertise and just your passion and your personal experiences, you know, in particular, because sometimes, you know, we think that people and experts, as you rightfully said, are completely absolved of experiencing these same things, even within their area. And then you realize everyone has a journey to get to a particular point. So I just want to give each of you, you know, a very 30 seconds just to leave us with your closing remarks with regards to if it's one thing you want people to take away from this conversation, what would it be? We'll start with you, Luanne.
Oh, okay. So I'm an advocate for budgeting because it is the beginning and the end of your financial journey. It helps you face a lot of things. It helps you face your mindset. It helps you be intentional with every single dollar. So you tell every single dollar where to go, what to do. If you're hung up on the concept of budgeting, say spending plan. I'm planning to spend. It may not happen, but then you know what? You forgive yourself and you move on.
Yeah.
You're only human, and I'm doing this. It's a journey. It's not a destination.
And you do better next
And
month.
I promise to do better next month, and then you have to face it again in your spending plan. So at the end of this, a lot of things can be solved by persons doing their spending plan and doing it intentionally. I know that's Kimberly's very favorite word. You have to do it intentionally and stick to it, and eventually you'll get better at it, and it becomes natural, and you hold yourself accountable, responsible. If you need an accountability partner, you get your spouse, you get your friend, you get something, your app, something, your journal, to help you become more and more accountable. But at the end of the day, budget and your spending plan.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. Kimalene.
What I want to leave the audience with today is a solution. If you find yourself manifesting any of these warning signs that we spoke about, it's enough to acknowledge that you are in a position, but then where do you go? What do you do?
Right.
And you have to take action to change, one, your behavior, and two, your mindset. Luanne's favorite word. So what I would recommend as well, you have to take some hard decisions. If you realize when you assess your spending, your budget, etc., you're in a deficit, then you have to take some hard decisions. One, either you get a different job. Two, you aim for a promotion. Three, you do something on the side. Four, you change jobs. You have to do something to change the position you're in. And even if you come out of this in a surplus, you can do better. Because we are here for financial wellness.
Yes.
And to do the best we can, given the circumstances. And people say, oh, times are hard. Yes, times are hard. Have you ever heard anybody say times are good before COVID?
Yeah, it was still times are
Times
hard
are always
before.
hard. It's the kind
could
of
always see
hard
that, yeah.
that changes. People are resilient. They know how to make ends meet. They know how to navigate things to make things better for them. And this program, like many others right now where people are sharing information, are great resources for you to find out what you need to know. Never be embarrassed to ask a question, even when you go to your loans officer. Ask hard questions, ask difficult questions. Ask, okay, if I take this loan, what does this mean? When will I finish? I had this plan to do in that next year. Will that affect that?
Yeah.
These kinds of questions you need to ask, and you need to have conversations. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Knowledge is power.
Thank you so much. And I think that's an excellent note to wrap up on, that knowledge is power. Definitely budgeting is very important. And overall awareness. I think that that's the key watchword from all of these installments in these different series, from your mental wellness to physical wellness and now to financial wellness. We see how all aspects of your life really works in tandem when you're thinking about holistic wellness, which is what Ariza sought to do when championing this series. And with that said, I just really want to commend the entire team, at Ariza Credit Union for really pulling all of these resourceful local Grenadians who are experts and really capable of giving you realistic information in a non-confrontational way to, just to make you more aware of different things and tips that will make your life easier. So to Eddie, Amira, the entire team that have literally been working so hard to wrangle and ensure that all of these lovely people that came and shared their knowledge, are here every week and just informing me of all of the different things that, are going on and what people are interested in based on the feedback. I think that is absolutely phenomenal. This is definitely something that I know will stay with me for a very long time because I've learned so much, throughout this. And I think that people said that because they're like, you have genuine reactions. Sometimes you really are surprised, sometimes, but literally all of this information, it's useful to be top of mind. And you don't have to remember everything, but you do have to remember to be aware, especially when you want to live a life that's comfortable for you, live a life that you can enjoy, still have great experiences, and still achieve your goals, whether it's, your mental, wellness and your health, your physical wellness, how you look, the things that you ingest, and your financial wellness, your ability to go with your friend when they decide to elope and go to a wedding, all of these different things that pop up in life, but don't necessarily pop up in life. So again, thank you to the entire Ariza team. I would also like to thank our technical team for being with us every single week, TNR Communications. I swear, you are essential workers during this time, and I will continue to say that because you bring invaluable information to people. You ease them, with entertainment, and you're so pleasant to work with. So to Richie, Nazim, Kurt, Colon, Blondell, and the entire team, thank you all so much for bringing this information to everyone and having top quality live stream, whether it's, on Facebook or through the YouTube. And then to our team at GBN, Slowkey, and the entire technical team there, ensuring that this is also on national television. We really appreciate you for that, as well, and all of the different people that we would have seen throughout this series. For more information on Kimalene, how you can contact her, she has Kimalene Regis consulting.com, so you can check out that. That's the website for her consulting agency, as well as Kimalene Regis Consulting on Facebook. And look out for her upcoming series called Tidbits on Facebook, so you can look out for that. And then Luanne Phillips-Henry, Finance Savvy on Facebook, and also at finance_savvy_GD on Instagram. I already follow them. Follow her. She will help you with those tips. So again, thank you so much. My name is Akiera. It was literally, such a pleasure ushering you through these conversations. I'm looking forward to whatever Ariza has next to assist people in being financially well, financial freedom, and having a successful future. So again, stay updated to Ariza on Ariza Credit Union at Facebook, at Ariza CU on Instagram, and website arizacu.com. It has been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you again when we do another series like this, maybe to speak on different topics that are essential to you and your overall wellness. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening and do enjoy the rest of your night.